Hi guys, and welcome back to Bookhaven with me, Kim. Today I'll be talking about my most anticipated reads of 2019, so stick around. So I know this video is extremely late. Most people did their most anticipated reads back near New Year's Eve or in the new year, but I figure it's better late than never. So I have 10 books to share with you. 9 of them are fantasy and 1 of them I believe is a nonfiction. 3 of them are already out and 7 are coming out. So let's get started. First off, I've got a book that is definitely on the booktube hype train. So many people have been talking about it, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer, and that came out January 29th. This book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. There's Prince Ren and you have Harper Lacey from 2 different worlds. Prince Ren is in a world where he's, well, obviously a prince and living in the castle and has some sort of curse where he turns into a beast. And Harper Lacey is living in, I think, like our kind of world, Washington, D.C. And one day she's trying to save someone and she ends up being sucked into this other world. It's, like I said, Beauty and the Beast retelling, you know, break the curse, save the kingdom. But the one interesting twist that I didn't know about until recently was that the main character, Harper Lacey, has cerebral palsy. So that should be a really interesting addition, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Number 2 on my list is Race to the Frozen North, the Matthew Henson story, and this is by Katherine Johnson. So this is the only book and story on my list that isn't a fantasy. This is about a real-life adventurer named Matthew Henson, and he lived in the 1800s and he was an explorer. He spent 23 years exploring the North Pole, and I love myself a good explorer adventure story, especially if it's real. But one of the things that really stood out to me in the description of this book is that it is made for a middle grade crowd, and it is well written for people who are reluctant readers and dyslexic as well. So I'm just very curious to look into this. Last off from my books that have already been released that were in the list for my most anticipated reads this year is a book called Gates of Stone by Angus MacAllan, and that came out just recently on February 19th. This is an Indonesian epic fantasy, which I find really interesting. I haven't read a lot of fantasy novels that have any kind of Indonesian twist to it. You've got 3 different characters. You've got a princess who was denied her inheritance because she was a female, a prince on a mission through pirate-infested waters trying to find an evil sorcerer, and you've got the evil sorcerer trying to destroy the world. So those 3 points of view, and the fact that it takes place in islands with pirates and sounds like it has an interesting magic system, I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. Then I've got The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson, and this comes out very shortly on March 12th. So this is a story that takes place in 1491 Granada, and it's about our 2 characters, Fatima, who is the last concubine to the Sultan, and her best friend Hassan, who happens to be gay. Now, he is also a map maker, and he has some sort of magic. He's able to bend reality and map places that he's never actually seen or been to before. At some point, I think Fatima puts her friend at risk because magic is, not a good thing at that point in history. And she ends up, I think, exposing him to a female friend, and then they have to escape and go on the run. All I know, other than the fact that, you have this magical realism and that it's sort of very historically accurate, I've been told as well. So I love historical fiction, I love fantasy, it sounds like a great combination, and the fact that it has djinn and magical realism and a map maker, I think maps are absolutely fascinating. This has me standing in line for it when it comes out March 12th. Then at number 5, I have The Deepest Blue by Sarah Beth Durst, and that comes out March 19th. This is a book that's been compared to Island of Blue Dolphins and Hunger Games. It's about our main character, Mayara, who is an oyster diver, and she can control these malicious spirits that are in this world. Eventually she is discovered that she can control these malicious spirits, and she's sent to an island with no food, no water, basically nothing. And I think this is when the Hunger Games comparison comes in, because she's put up against all these other women with these same powers to control spirits. And from what I hear, it's like a test to the end to see who survives. Sarah Beth Durst is an author. I've heard a lot about her middle grade books, and I'm just recently started to read one of her books, The Queen of Blood, I believe it's called, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm looking forward to this beautiful book. I'll have all the books linked down below and showing the covers somewhere over here. And some of these covers are absolutely gorgeous, and this is one of my favorite. At number 6, I've got Music and Malice in Hurricane Town by Alex Bell, and this comes out on April 4th, just in time for my birthday. This author has written one of my favorite middle grade books. It's the Polar Bear Explorers Club, but this isn't a middle grade book. I don't know if it's YA or if it's an adult fantasy or fiction, but it doesn't matter. It sounds fantastic. You have your main character Jude, who plays the trumpet all over the Blue Bayou. I can't say that. It's got a very New Orleans sort of feel to the story. And then one day, while she's out on a gig, a dead queen spirit possesses her and is out to try and find her killer. There's vampires in this story, specifically vampire jazz clubs, and that has me written all over it. I can't wait to read it. At number 7, I have Wild Spark by Vashti Hardy, and that comes out May 2nd. So in this story, we have our main character, Prue, and her brother has died already at the very beginning of the story. And there is news that comes to their house that there's a new technology where you can bring the spirits of your loved ones back through animal-like machines, which sounds steampunk-like to me, so I'm all over it just for that one fact. But of course, this new technology is at a great cost to all humanity. Next, at number 8, I've got Nocturna by Maya Motain, and this comes out May 7th. So this is a debut book for an own voice, Latin-inspired world in this fantasy realm where you have Finn, who is a face shifter, which kind of makes me think of Arya Stark from the Game of Thrones. And you've got a prince who is dabbling with forbidden magic. The two characters have to team up to defeat an evil magic that they unleashed. So this is a very interesting concept to me. I haven't read a character who is a face shifter before, or a shapeshifter. So I find the face shifting very interesting, and that was one of my favorite parts of Game of Thrones, so I've kind of got that stuck in my head. And next up is The Stormcrow by an author whose name I've been having such a hard time pronouncing. I believe it's Callan Josephson, and this comes out July 9th. This book has been compared to a cross between Eragon and I Am Darken. And you've got these magical crow entities in this world, and they've all been wiped out by another nation. And you have a princess who finds the very last egg that never thought to exist. And her and her sister try and hatch it in secret to bring back these magical crows into the world. And last but not least, at number 10, I have Wilder Girls by Rory Power, and that also comes out on July 9th. Now this story has some really exciting things in it that I haven't read in a long time. It has an all-girls boarding school set on an island location, and they're put into quarantine because there is a tox, which is some sort of virus that is going around and killing and sort of destroying people's bodies. Now, due to this tox, the girls cannot leave their quarantine area and go into the woods where it has spread. They're sitting and waiting for the cure to be delivered as it has been promised. And when it hasn't been delivered, our main character Hetty's best friend or romantic partner, Bayet, goes missing, and she decides to leave the quarantine zone and go into the woods looking for her. And at this point, she discovers that there's much more to the story than what they've been told. So there you have it, my 10 most anticipated releases of 2019. I haven't seen these on many people's TBRs other than like the one or two that have been really hyped on BookTube. So I hope some of these are relatively new discoveries for you, but if some of you have read them or have managed to get your hands on an ARC, I'd love to hear what you thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new to my channel, and as always, keep reading and have fun. Bye for now.